I hope you can. So I've been very stressed out about my student loans recently, and I hope you can see why.
Hold on, whoa. The caption says, "How long will it take me to pay off 323,000 in student loans?"
My student loans recently, and I hope you can see why. Because I have $323,000 in student loan debt. I really didn't know if this was going to make me feel better or worse, but I decided to sit down and calculate how long it was going to take me to pay off my student loans. Now, I'm not a financial expert, and this assumes a handful of things. The first assumption is that at some point in 2026, I'm going to have to start paying interest on these loans. The next assumption is that there's going to be some sort of signing bonus when I get my first job as an attending, which is very.
She says sometime in 2026. She recorded this video in April of 2025. So basically, this year, I'm assuming she either will pretty soon or she has already started having to pay the interest. So let's see how she's done her calculation.
Sort of signing bonus when I get my first job as an attending, which is very common right now in the field of anesthesiology. And then
Okay.
it also assumes a $400,000 a year salary, which is hopefully an underestimate. Now, provided I put at least $50,000 from a signing bonus, and then $8,000 a month in my first 2 years in practice, and then $8,500 a month in my third and fourth year, I actually am able to pay off my loans in about 4 years. Now, I got lucky in the sense that my loans have been in forbearance the entire time I've been in residency, so I have not yet accrued any interest. There are also personal choices that I've made that make putting that much money towards my loans feasible, namely not having children. I really feel like paying off my loans as quickly as possible is the only pathway forward at this point. I don't trust anything this administration has to say about student loan repayment, but this did make me feel honestly a little bit better in the sense that there is like a light to be found at the end of the tunnel. And I know that that's not something that is true for everyone who's taken out student loans. So in that sense, I'm very lucky. So I
So, first of all, paying off your student loans
to be found.
should have nothing to do with what administration is in office at the time. Because she mentioned she doesn't trust the administration or whatever. The administration should have no bearing on whether or not you're paying off your student loans. That's your responsibility. And laws can change. As you see, administrations have always changed. So ultimately, you need to take the accountability on your own shoulders, which she is. And she has a plan. And she mentioned something that I mention all the time, which is, man, if you don't put self-inflicted wounds on yourself and put too much overhead on yourself, which I would argue a small child, a child with a soul and with a personality, that's a self-inflicted wound if you're not ready, if you're not prepared, and if you're not having it within the structure that it was meant to be had in. But this is impressive because according to her calculations, 2026, she's looking to pay off $323,000 in 5 years. So that, listen, I don't know if she's taking into account taxes. Because even on her little sheet, I'm gonna be honest, it's not that detailed. It's not that detailed. I don't know if she's taking into account her being a single person, and she says she's gonna be making 400 grand a year, which I think that is right at the point to where you get the highest tax bracket. I believe it starts at 400,000. So I don't know if she's taking that into account. But we can actually do the equation and try to break this down. Because let's see if a single person is making $400,000 a year, right? What can they look to expect on each paycheck? And we can even take it both ways. We can go net and we can go gross for a single person. She didn't tell us where she lives. So we can't really account for state taxes because we don't know what state she's in. Some states you don't even have to pay state taxes. But let's just do what we can with the information that we have. So, assuming, of course, we did. So she's going to be W-2 salary. So, and this is also assuming that they take the standard deduction. Of course, they have no dependents. So basically, annual 400K. The monthly average would equate to about 33,333. There will be 26 biweekly checks of around 15,385. And then let's see. What their estimated take home in a state with no income tax would be 400K. Let's just say the state has no income tax. So you keep all your state taxes. That doesn't come out. You can look to net about $277,800, which will bring your monthly average from 33,333 to about 23,000. So you pretty much take a 10K hit every month. And now your biweekly checks are around $10,500 every 2 weeks. So basically, your federal taxes, you would have paid $122,000. Then we didn't even factor in Social Security and all that type of stuff. Or that is what everything factored in, actually. So federal income tax would be about 103,000, Social Security about 11,000, Medicare additional Medicaid or whatever about 7,500. Now, that's without state tax. That's without state tax. So if she's in a state, it doesn't even have to be one of the states that have the higher state taxes like California or New York. But if she's in a state that just has standard state taxes, I mean, you could take even more out of there. I would say at least 40, 50 grand. So it pretty much what you would expect to make, you dang near almost cut it in half just by hitting that $400,000 tax bracket. So I don't know if she took that into account, that she's really only going to be taking home half of what she makes. But also, one of the benefits could be that I think you can actually write off the interest when you do your taxes. So if she pays any interest throughout these 5 years, then I think she can actually get credited for that when she does her taxes. But at least she has a plan. Listen, whether she does it in 5 years, whether she does it in 10 years, that's still impressive. And shout out to her for taking responsibility.
I'm just trying to.
And picking a degree where it made sense to go into all that debt. Because I would say that that's definitely fair if you have a degree that pays 400,000 and your education costs you 323,000. Listen, shoot, you make 400,000. Even if she was getting 250 a year after all the taxes, you can still just every year just pretend like 50,000 of that doesn't exist, and she could still live off 200K. Shoot, she could live off 150K. She'll still be living a good life while she's getting rid of her debt. My main thing is just, I would be looking at it like, man, once I pay off, because by the time she pays off the 323,000 that she owes, I mean, she'll probably pay off over 400. So I'd just be looking, because you're going to pay all that and then you're just going to be at zero. I'd be like, dang, I could have had that, but obviously without the education, she would have never been able to earn income at that level. So it's just the trade-offs that you do. I think all in all, it was smart. And then I like that she's going to get on that debt immediately. And she's even making sure she gets on it as early as possible because she doesn't want to be paying interest, which is smart because it's imaginary money. And when we're in six figures, the multiple six figures, interest can become deadly, very deadly.
Here, as someone with over $300,000 of student loans, yes, you heard that right.
Another person with 300,000 of student loans. I hope she tells us what she got her degree in.
Here are some of the sort of less conventional things that I'm doing to try to save money. I might make an additional video on exactly what our plan is to tackle my debt, but for now I'll just share some of the things that I'm currently doing to try to save money. Okay, number one, I'm embracing the bare nail. I love how my nails look when they're done. I love how I feel when my nails are done. But for now, I'm going to put that in the category of like a luxury item and not something that is an essential that I actually need. I feel like I've heard that bare nails are in, and I'm just trying to lean into that right now. I am trying to eliminate impulse buying. This one is like a little bit trickier because I love buying things. And I would say historically, my mindset has been if I have the money for it in my bank account, then I should just buy it because you literally only live once. But what I'm trying to implement now is if there's something that I see that I want, I'm writing it down just to have like in my notes app on my phone and then checking in every couple of weeks and just being like, is this something that I actually want? Or was it just something that like the thought of gave me like a burst of dopamine or something? So that has been working really well. And more often than not,
Listen, all these things sound good for an average situation. And when I say average situation, I mean when people are living either paycheck to paycheck or they're still coming in the negative month after month after their paycheck by a small margin. Then we can talk about just making cuts and, oh, I just won't get my nails done. And I'll write down the little things that I impulse shop. That's cool for an average situation. Ma'am, you have 300,000 in debt. You need to be like the first lady and you need to go scorch earth on this debt because just not getting your nails done, just making that cut in that concession is not going to do it. I'm just going to be real. That's not even going to take care of the interest. I want to hear a rock solid plan as far as how you're going to address this intentionally and aggressively. Maybe she'll reveal it.
when I return back to the things on that list, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I didn't spend money on that. I try not to leave the house hungry. So I was finding that I would leave the house and then I would get like slammed with hunger, and then I would, pop into the grocery store or coffee shop for food. So I just try and keep snacks in my car, and I try to eat a snack or a meal before I leave the house. Okay, lastly, this one is like a little
Please.
bit less obvious. I'm trying to spend less time on my phone because I feel like the more time I'm on my phone, the more inspired I get by what other people have. And then I feel like, oh my gosh, well, I need those things too. So I've been trying to fill my time with more like analog, phoneless activities like sewing, embroidering, knitting, etc. And that's been working really well for me. So I just wanted to share, just because these things have been working well for me. I would love to hear what's been working well for you and what you've been trying. But yeah, this has made a big difference, and I'm only like a month into implementing them. So that feels great. As someone with over 3
I wanted to make sure I saw that balance right. Yeah, it says over 300,000 student loan debt. So she's got over that. And she's talking about, I was waiting. I was like, okay, this last thing. Let it be something good. Please. And she said she's about to start using more of her free time to start knitting. No. You need to get another job. You need to be working. What are you talking about? None of that stuff is going to move the needle at all with what she's talking about to get over 300,000 off your head. So basically, when we come back in 5 years and we revisit the situation, she's going to be like, here are my tips for how I'm trying to get rid of my $700,000 in student loan debt, because that stuff isn't going to do nothing. That's not even going to address the interest. So that interest is going to accrue on you. See, the other woman, she understood that she needs to go ahead and aggressively come at this. Otherwise, she'll just be in this cycle of continuing to pay down interest, and the balance will never go anywhere, and it'll probably still incrementally grow. If you're not coming at it aggressively, your balance is going to tremendously grow, and it's going to get overwhelming. You're going to turn 300,000 into $1,000,000 if you don't get on it and you don't get a sense of urgency about this. She needs some help. She needs some help. I wish she would have told us what she does. Let me see what she does. I'm sure with $300,000 in student loan debt, she will put what her profession is in her title. Even in her title, it says saving our forever home while paying off over $300,000 of student loans. But she doesn't say what she does. She doesn't say what she does. Let's get rid of. Yeah. A lot of her content is about paying off the debt though. And I'm not trying to come for her, but it's just like you got to have a plan like that other woman had when you got this type of debt, because this can get out of control very fast. And what I noticed, which is not her case, but a lot of people try to pretend like it doesn't exist. And she knows that it exists, but I think she's trying to pretend like it isn't as expedient as it truly is and as urgent as it truly is. So she just needs more urgency, because this can bury you and this can turn you into a forever slave if you're not intentional about it. So I hope that she does have a plan, but she was just maybe sharing some tips because she does a lot of the content on the student loan. So maybe in another video, she's already revealed what her actual practical plan is. But I also want to know what she does. I wish she showed what she did. But y'all, we'll leave it there for today. If you could like the video, I greatly appreciate it. Only takes a second, and it actually helps out more than you know. And also, if you could hype the video. Hype is a new feature that YouTube offers where it helps smaller content creators like myself. And basically, when you hype, it actually pushes us to the extent that it pushes the larger content creators. So you just press the hype button and it shows the points. And since I'm a smaller creator, a smaller channel, we actually get more points per hype. And hype was designed for smaller channels, so that's why. But if you run across a video and you don't see the hype button, then it's probably been over 7 days, and hype usually vanishes after 7 days, so that's why. So usually if you want to hype, it's usually just best practice to just go ahead and hype while the iron is hot on a new video. And then also, if you want to become a member, join buttons on the video. And what becoming a member of the DXU family will come with is you would get badges next to your comments. So whenever you leave a comment, people will see that you are a member, as well as you would get early access to content and exclusive content that everyone else on YouTube can't view. So join buttons on the video if you want to join. But until then, I'll see you in the next video.